not mince words in a lengthy statement, saying, in part, the world knows Andrew and Tristan Tate are innocent. Their enemies know it best of all. That is exactly why they have been attacked. He continued, understand what Britain just did. There is a long-standing agreement between the UK and Romanian governments that the UK would not seek extradition while the Romanian proceedings are pending. Those proceedings are ongoing right now. That agreement exists because no nation gets to trample the judicial sovereignty of another for political convenience. The UK shredded its own word the moment it became useful to shred it.
They were walking into a fighting event in Miami, cameras everywhere, fans cheering. And then it happened. Handcuffs, Andrew and Tristan Tate, pulled off the street in broad daylight while the whole world watched. Not a chase, not a raid, just a quiet surgical takedown, and their lawyer said one word that changes everything. Kidnapping, not an arrest. Kidnapping through paperwork, just like I know when powerful institutions start using words like extradition to dress up something ugly, your radar should be going off. Here's the thing, though. Most people saw the clips and moved on. They read a headline about rape charges and trafficking and felt whatever they already felt about the Tate brothers. But you need to stay with me here, because what I'm about to lay out isn't about liking them. It's about watching a system you already don't trust pull a move so brazen it validates every suspicion you've ever had. And look, I'm not here to defend every word Andrew Tate has ever uttered. Actually, wait, let me rephrase that. I'm not here to make him a saint. But the moment you celebrate a man being dragged into chains because you disagree with him, you've handed the system a weapon it will someday use on someone you do care about. That's not opinion. That's history. The brothers landed in Florida on a private jet Saturday. Dual citizens US and UK. For the past few years, they've been bouncing in and out of Romanian jail cells and house arrest, fighting charges over there involving trafficking and exploitation. Now the UK suddenly decides it's time to pounce. Andrew now faces 42 charges total, 7 counts of rape, trafficking, indecent images, assault. Tristan faces 17. Heavy stuff. Horrible stuff if true, and these allegations span from 2010 to 2017.
But at the same time that they were facing accusations in Bucharest, multiple women in the UK also brought claims against the Tates. And now these men are facing dozens of charges there. So when they landed in Miami on Saturday, this time they were taken into custody on a sealed warrant as part of an extradition request. According to the Crown Prosecution Service in the UK, Andrew and Tristan are being charged in connection with 4 more alleged victims and incidents that reportedly occurred between 2010 and 2017. So on top of this laundry list of charges that they were already facing, according to reporting from The Guardian, they now face dozens more. The CPS has charged Andrew with 7 more counts of rape, 3 counts of arranging or facilitating trafficking for sexual exploitation, 3 counts of assault with actual bodily harm, and 19 additional charges for offenses relating to indecent images of a child and extreme pornography. So in all, per the BBC, Andrew now faces a total of 42 charges in the UK. Tristan faces 17. The head of the CPS Special Crimes Division, this is Malcolm McAfee, said these charging decisions followed receipt of a further file of evidence from Bedfordshire Police and bring the total number of alleged victims in this case to 7.
So ask yourself, why now? Why the moment they set foot on American soil? The Crown Prosecution Service in the UK, a man named Malcolm McAfee, head of their Special Crimes Division, said a further file of evidence came from Bedfordshire Police, and that's what triggered these new charges. They say there are now 7 alleged victims. But here's where it gets interesting. There's a long-standing agreement. The Tate's attorney, Joseph McBride, came out swinging. He said the UK and Romanian governments had a deal. The UK would not seek extradition while the Romanian proceedings were pending. Those proceedings are still ongoing right now. So the UK shredded its own word the moment it became useful to shred it. That's who they are. And that's not a conspiracy theory. That's a statement from their legal team.
Overall perception is, essentially, so they were in Florida. They get arrested on this extradition. They still have that pending case in Romania. And that's what's going to be so interesting about this extradition is that there was an alleged agreement with the UK for priority. And we often do this with different states that might have different cases on individuals. So that's kind of where they are right now. They have these pending cases in Romania. They have pending cases in England. This extradition is for the case in England that was going to be essentially stayed until the Romanian cases were resolved.
Now stay with me. If a government will break an agreement to grab two men, what else will they do? The extradition request went through the U.S. Department of Justice. A sealed warrant was signed by a magistrate judge in the Southern District of Florida. Sealed. Why sealed? They don't want you to see what's in it.
The BBC has laid out the path that these kinds of requests take, right? The Crown Prosecution Office puts together a request, it gets certified by a judge, the final request is sent over to the Home Office, which then forwards it on to the U.S. State Department. It's then considered by a court here in the U.S., and Secretary of State Marco Rubio apparently would have the final say so on extradition. And there have been rumors in the past that the Tates, who have both shown support for President Donald Trump, could see his intervention in their legal cases, but the president has previously said he doesn't know anything about the Tates cases. This is according to reporting by Time magazine. However, I will tell you, the outlet reports that Donald Trump Jr. was previously quoted saying the brothers' detention in Romania was, quote, absolute insanity.
And get this, reports say the DOJ's criminal divisionership approved the arrests, not some low-level functionary, the top.
Look, I mentioned this before, and it seems like it's going to be a big legal issue, fight of extradition. There is this treaty, right? There was this agreement between the UK and Romania that if there's an ongoing Romanian proceeding, that the UK can't, issue the warrant or try to get the extradition of the Tate brothers until the Romanian proceedings conclude. I don't know how much the U.S. Marshal Service gets involved in this, but is there a time when it comes and says we can't do this because of Romania, or did that come up at all because of Romania, or Romanian authorities are reaching out and saying we can't do this? UK, I'm sorry, but there's a problem here. There's a conflict.
Right. I can't speak to that specifically. The authority that the United States Marshal Service was acting on was the federal arrest warrant issued by a judge in the Southern District of Florida. So that is where the Marshal Service has our authority, just like in any other case where a arrest warrant is issued. The legal issues behind that are not really something that we get involved in.
Then the U.S. Marshals, including local Miami task force officers, went and took them.
Emily, thank you so much for taking the time. So first of all, just so our viewers and listeners know, you know someone that was a part of the actual arrest of the Tate brothers, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And in what capacity?
Right. So I work for the United States Marshal Service, and our agency was responsible for the conducting of the arrest. Marshals assigned to the Southern District of Florida and Miami were the ones who effected the arrest on Saturday.
Can you give us background information about how that happened and when it happened and the process by which it happened?
Sure. So the United States has a extradition treaty with the United Kingdom. And pursuant to that treaty, there was an extradition request made by authorities in the United Kingdom. That request was then routed through Department of Justice. And once it was deemed, once the request was approved, then it was referred to the Southern District of Florida, and a warrant was issued by a federal judge in Miami. Once that warrant was issued, then it was assigned to the United States Marshal Service to actually go out and effectuate the arrest in that case.
Emily Maddox from the Marshal Service confirmed they were cooperative. No weapons, no incident.
The legal issues behind that are not really something that we get involved in.
Gotcha. Was there anything about their arrest, them being detained, did they say or do anything that you can tell us that was of note?
No, my understanding, even though I wasn't there on scene, is that they were cooperative and that the arrest was conducted without any sort of incident or issues at all.
No weapons on them or anything like that?
No.
Just compliant men who'd been out in public living openly, suddenly in cuffs.
Okay, you said a lot there, so let me break it down a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yes, I think they fight extradition because there was number one, there was this alleged long-standing agreement with UK that they would not seek extradition while Romania was pending. And I think someone at maybe DOJ or someone else decided to submit this warrant to the magistrate judge. The magistrate judge signed off on it. That's how a warrant gets issued. That's how extradition starts. Now, that's phase one. Phase two of why they would fight extradition. Well, number one is because of that agreement. And then number two is because they would be remaining in custody, most likely on the transfer to England. And they've already experienced this in Romania, right? They were in custody for like 8 months or a year with charges not filed. Then they were filed, and some were dropped, some were pending. They seized all their items. I mean, the Romanian thing was a little bit crazy in terms of how it took place and how they weren't allowed to go anywhere. So they obviously are in fear, I would imagine, of staying in custody. Now, how does it work in extradition in the United States? Generally, you're not entitled to bond in terms of the extradition, and how that works is the 3184, 18 USC 3184 kind of controls it, right? And we look at the bond determination in, are they a flight risk? Are they a harm to society? They're not entitled to a bond. And most likely, in cases like this, individuals are not awarded a bond. Now, why is their case different? A couple things. Number one is they've been out, nothing has happened, society has been safe. Number two is they're well-known personalities. If they wanted to run, they could have run. They could have gone to Vietnam. They could have gone to different countries that have zero extradition with anyone. Romania, America, England, they could have gone to those countries. They did not. So the flight risk argument, I think, is a little weak. And then that third thing, which is really the most important to me, is that UK had an agreement that there was a priority for Romania. And the argument essentially would be is that this was kind of a rogue actor that submitted a warrant, and it was signed by a magistrate, and that magistrate, had no idea about any kind of agreement with the UK about the Romanian incident.
And this is the part nobody talks about. Florida Attorney General James Uthmere posted on X after the arrest. His tweet, "How the turntables, a joke." From The Office. Michael Scott misquoting. How the tables have turned. This is the state's top law enforcement official, with an active criminal investigation into the brothers, making jokes while men's freedom hangs in the balance. That tells you everything about the mindset. Bradford Cohen, a seasoned defense attorney, said it perfectly. You don't joke about someone's life. You either bring a case or you don't. But tweeting mocking memes while you're supposedly building a case, that's not justice. That's performance.
I want to ask you one more point about this. So it's also being reported per CNN that Florida's investigating the brothers, that there's an active criminal investigation. And Florida Attorney General James Uthmere posted on X after it was announced the brothers were arrested, how the turntables, ... How is this affecting any potential Florida case or investigation?
First, I don't even understand what the tweet was, how the turntables. I read that myself, and I was like, I think he meant something else.
I thought it was like how the tables have turned, I guess. Yeah.
How the tables turned. I don't know what he meant by that. Obviously, listen, if there's an active investigation, you deal with an active investigation. I don't take threats very well. I don't take, lawyers send me letters all the time about their clients and things of that nature. I really don't care about letters. I don't care about calls. I don't care about tweets. Like, you have a case, bring the case. You don't have a case, then don't bring the case and don't tweet about it. So I'm a guy who likes to punch people in the face and not tell them, hey, by the way, if you keep doing that, I'm going to punch you in the face. Like, just do it. Like, either punch them in the face or don't. So to me, it's one of those things that the threats mean nothing to me. The actions mean more than the threats. And if you have something, then bring it.
So as we're talking, my producer, Savannah, who's amazing, just goes, it's a joke from The Office. So Michael Scott says, oh, how the turntables. Instead of how the tables are turned. So I guess he's making a joke.
I'm not as hip as James is for the Attorney General of Florida. He's way hipper. He's way hipper than I am. I didn't understand it. I read it and like maybe it's because I'm so old. I didn't understand it, but it's good to put it in context.
What am I supposed to say?
Yeah,
I didn't know it either.
Put it in context, but still, like I said,
Fair.
I don't even make jokes about like it's when you bring a case against somebody or you're trying a case against someone, it's never a joking thing. So I've had prosecutors tell me, "Oh, this is going to be a fun trial, and it'll be good practice for me." Like, you know, you got someone's life in your hands, and it's not practice.
Yeah,
it's not a fun trial. It's something that I take extremely seriously. I think a lot of my my employees take it extremely seriously. And you know, like I said, it's nothing to be joked about. So if you have something, bring the case. If you don't, you don't.
Let me slow down for a second, Shu, and this isn't really about the Tate brothers, is it? It's about the machine. It's about the machine. The same machine that tells you what to think, what to say, what to fear. These men built a massive following by telling men to reject weakness, to question the narrative. And the response from multiple governments is to bury them under a mountain of charges, coordinate across continents, and then joke about it. Maybe you don't like their message. Fine. But if they can be silenced this way, so can anyone. Your favorite podcaster. Your pastor. You. That chilled feeling you have right now, that's your instincts working. Don't ignore it. Think about the timing again. They had been given permission to leave Romania last year, flew to Florida, returned. Nothing. But now, when they land again, suddenly a sealed warrant is waiting. The extradition hearing was brief. They appeared in tan jail uniforms, handcuffed, before Magistrate Judge Lauren Lewis. Their attorney says they'll fight it.
Okay, so like I said, there was a hearing today, very, very brief. It was in front of U.S. Magistrate Judge Lauren Lewis. Basically set another hearing for next Monday. Their attorney said they're going to fight extradition. The brothers came into court today. They were wearing tan jail uniforms, handcuffs. This is all per reporting from the Associated Press. And look, this is the start of what could be a very interesting and possibly complicated extradition fight. The judge will have to determine whether or not they meet the conditions of extradition, whether or not, as we talked about, the whole Romania aspect of it will complicate it. So we'll see which way this goes, and we'll keep a very careful eye on what happens between now and next Monday, and of course, what happens next Monday.
And the fight could get ugly because the UK broke that priority agreement. The question nobody in power wants to answer, who at the DOJ greenlit this knowing full well Romania had priority. Was it a rogue actor, as some suggest, or a coordinated choice to snatch them before an American jury could see the evidence and maybe expose the whole case as paper thin?
Do you think the White House is going to get involved? Why do I say that? So Mr. McBride told reporters Monday, I believe that Marco Rubio and the rest of the Trump administration are not fans of communism. They're not fans of prosecuting people for free speech. So I would just think, as a matter of principle, based on the reasons why they were elected, that they would not want to see two free citizens go to a country where they're going to be thrown in jail for political reasons.
So I think that's interesting. I don't know if the White House gets involved or not, or if they necessarily have to get involved. I think there's going to be email exchanges. I think there's going to be testimony about the UK agreeing to forego any extradition until the Romanian case is over. So I don't know if it's going to be necessary, but I also think there's going to be some sort of fairness argument, right? If the UK did agree, to hold off until Romania was done, which is not unusual. A lot of countries, a lot of states do this. If you look at the Little Dirk case, he's got a case pending in Chicago. He's got a case pending in California. They have to give some sort of priority as to who gets him first.
And then there's the UK file itself. Alleged incidents from over a decade ago. Why the lapse in time? Why are women coming forward now after the Tate brothers became global names? I'm not dismissing victims. But you have to ask hard questions when the timing lines up so perfectly with a man becoming a political target.
Just talk to me about the gravity of these charges and how a defense attorney approaches something.
So
like
the
this.
charges are very serious, obviously. The allegations are very serious. What the allegations, in my opinion, do not show is these the lawsuits that have been pending. And I think there was a lawsuit in the United States that was pending. I don't know if it was dismissed. A lot of these things have discovery on them, and there has been some movement in terms of that the stories weren't exactly how these young ladies were saying these stories were. So how does the defense attorney attack these things is exactly how I'm saying it. You ask about the incidents, you see what the evidence is, you see what kind of evidence there is pending. If there is extrinsic evidence, the witnesses that allegedly were there or allegedly these individuals told soon thereafter or did not tell soon thereafter. Why did it take from 2010 to now for these allegations to come out? Why is there a lapse in time? All these different things are questioned, and we try to find out the answers to these things. The allegations are always horrible. The Sean Combs case, those allegations were horrible. And then he ended up getting a not guilty on the majority of those charges. So, everyone is, in America at least, everyone is presumed innocent until, and after a trial has commenced. So you have that cloak of innocence throughout the trial, and then until a jury finds whether or not you are guilty or not guilty. So when I look at these cases, the allegations in all cases, there's never good allegations in cases. They're always bad. Sexual allegations are some of the worst because it goes to your reputation. It goes to your being, as opposed to, if it's a grand theft case, if it's something else of those nature. When we think of sexual assault cases, you start to think, is it a depraved mind that, it's like a murder case? And how do we defend a murder case?
You already know what I'm about to say. The system doesn't care about old wounds. It cares about who's getting too powerful, too loud, too influential outside their control. Andrew Tate's crime, in their eyes, isn't what happened in a bedroom years ago. It's that he told millions of people not to trust the system. And they can't have that.
Would you be concerned about their past comments online in interviews, that it could play a role in this case? I think at the very least, even if you're talking about here in the United States, an issue of jury selection, how you can find a fair and impartial jury, because it's the difference between them and other people who were ultimately arrested and charged. Sometimes it comes out of nowhere. Sometimes they're like, I don't know, like I didn't know anything about Bill Cosby, right? Like I wasn't in the circles for when he got arrested.
But you like Jell-O.
People were like, some people, some people were like, oh my gosh, I knew him, like this is not a surprise. Other people were like, what? America's Dad, where'd that come from? Andrew and Tristan Tate, now again, they're innocent unless proven guilty, but I have to ask, like their commentary, I think I wonder if that could be a complication for them, either A, trying to get a fair and impartial jury. I don't know all the standards in the UK and how the law works, but also I just imagine, I wonder if that could be used as evidence.
Yeah, so it always causes me concern when I'm representing someone of note, because there are always going to be statements, or there are always going to be something on the internet, especially now, even with people not of note, but when I represent individuals, high profile individuals, which I've had many, it worries me about, what they've said. And here's what worries me more sometimes is how the prosecutors use it, how they twist it to use it. That happens a lot too. Look at the rap lyrics that are being used these days. And I've had cases where state attorneys or federal U.S. attorneys have manipulated the words to kind of fit their narrative, or, change them completely.
Now they've got him. And Tristan, sitting in federal custody, facing an extradition fight where they likely won't get bond. Meanwhile, the same agencies that botch human trafficking stings and let actual predators walk are patting themselves on the back. Florida's AG thinks it's funny. The CPS piles on charges. Romania's case is still in limbo. It's a three-front war designed to drain them dry and break their spirit. And the media will just keep calling them misogynist so you don't look deeper. So here we are. No resolution. Just open anger and a question burning. Are you watching justice, or are you watching a coordinated global takedown of men who refuse to be quiet? Because what just happened in Miami isn't the end. It's the beginning of a fight that will expose exactly how dirty the game can get, and I want to hear from you. Is this a legitimate pursuit of crimes, or are you seeing the same red flags I am? Let me know in the comments. And don't let them tell you it's crazy to ask. They only call you crazy when they know you're right.